Well, hey there. So we got us a gray, chilly Veterans Day Friday off. But check that out. What a car on a trailer. Race car. My race car. We're on the track tomorrow. All right. So, did a few other things. We'll wander on over here. We took the convertible to town yesterday to get tires put on it. They were going to see if they could hook the exhaust up. Unfortunately, the tire shop we took it to, they have moved all of their exhaust stuff to their other shop, which is like a few miles north of town. Uh-oh, hang on, I better turn the radio down. So we took it to town. It drove okay when I drove it. I drove it into town while she was at work, while she was at a meeting. And I dropped it off and she picked me up and brought me home, and it drove okay. It had some weird part throttle thing with the carburetor, but I mean, it run all right. Pulled pretty hard to the right, so I told them when they put tires on it to go ahead and align it. Hook the exhaust up and look at the front brakes, because the bleeders are pretty rusty and I couldn't get them loose. And the brake pedal just, I mean, it stops, but the brakes aren't great. So we went to pick it up. Oh, hang on. Got some BFGs on it. Turns out if you want white letter 14s, they're tough to come by. Nobody makes them anymore. That's great. I've heard 15s are even kind of tough to come by. You can't put 16s on an old car like this, these old 60s muscle car type things, because, well, frankly, it looks stupid. I know guys do it, but it looks dumb. Deal with it. But anyway, so it's got 205 70s on the front and 245 60s on the back. So we picked it up. They couldn't do anything with the exhaust because it was more than they could handle in their non-exhaust shop. All right, fine. They couldn't align it because, well, the tie rod ends are wore out. All right, great. But they did put tires on it. The guys in the shop didn't want to mess with the brakes because everything was rusty and they were afraid of breaking something. Wonderful. They're mechanics. That's what they do. They work on stuff. So now I'm going to have to do it, and now I'm going to have to break it. So anyway, so when we went to pick it up, she hopped in it, fired it up, and it wouldn't hardly run. Couldn't hardly keep it running. So then we switched vehicles, and I drove it home, and it popped and banged and missed, and you'd have to take it out of gear when you'd come to stop because it would try to die, and couldn't hardly keep it running, and I don't know what happened. I took the 600 vacuum secondary off, which is now sitting over there. I took it apart. I couldn't find anything wrong. The power valve's not blown. The float may have been a little high, but when it was popping and banging and farting and not hardly running, I mean, I looked down the carburetor throat and it wasn't pushing fuel past the boosters, so I don't know what was going on. So I took the old carburetor that was on this thing when it was in my 70, and it was seeing a little street strip duty, and if you notice, the fuel line's on the other side now, because it now has a 750 double pumper on it, annular discharge. It's a carburetor we bought new for my race car, I don't know, 30 years ago, like the second year I raced. It's a good carburetor. You take her out on the road now, and from a 15-mile-an-hour roll, and you stomp it, there's no bog, there's no hesitation. It just immediately spins the right rear. Cool. So, but we got to, I got to fix a little fuel leak on it. I need to get the points distributor put in it. And we're going to take it to the exhaust shop on Monday and have them hook the exhaust up. And I guess the fellow that one of the guys that works out there likes working on old cars, so we might have him go ahead and do the tie rods. And maybe see if he wants to mess with the brakes at all. But until then, that is what it is. So here's the real interesting part. I started pulling this thing apart a little bit, because as you know, we let the magic smoke out on the dyno. So I pulled the valve covers off. And here's something I don't understand. It had 1 weekend on it after I changed the springs, after I shimmed the springs up, and all the valve lash was set. And I mean, look at that. That is, something is way, I mean, and it's the same on both sides. I mean, hell, that valve's obviously bent. I mean, that's no bueno. I mean, this one's got a ton of play. There's a ton of play. There's a ton. There's a ton. I just did that one. Those two are both tight, but I mean, I don't understand. I mean, if it was wiping out the cam, you'd think it would only take 1 or 2 lobes out, not all of them. So then I took all the bolts out of the intake, and I haven't removed it yet. I just lifted it up. So here's what you'll see. It's pretty. Look at that crap that came up from below that's now in those ports. Yeah, wonderful. So let's get this off of here. What the hell? We permatex the hell out of that thing. Let's set it over here. I mean, not much on that side. And ooh, pieces of piston. So let's go ahead and, let's see. I guess both of those are closed or whatever version of state they're in. Let's just buzz a couple of them off. Oh, hey, that's not 9/16. Those are 5/8. I know everybody's going to say, hey, keep everything in order when you take it apart. You know what? It's blown up. Who cares? That feels all right. Ends aren't gone off of the push rods. Hang on. All right, we got us a little oh, well, look at that. And well, it's not all concave, but man, the edges are beat all to shit. I guess it's, just wiping it out. Wiping them all out, I guess. So, you learned as much as I did, and I don't know if I learned anything. I learned the bottom of the lifters, the edges are beat up, but there's not like a groove worn in them. So unless it was just grinding them off, I don't know why they're all loose. I mean, it's about got to be wiping the cam out. But that's about enough of that. Let the house get cleaned up so we can go to supper. And then tomorrow, I'm going to the racetrack. And hopefully, all goes well with my car. Then we'll have some like real racing content, not me fighting with that thing. But thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.